Well, hey boys, and welcome back to another edition of the Weekly Weather with Bearykah for the week of May 12th through the 18th. This week I'm coming to you from the St. Paul Cathedral of Liège in Wallonia, Belgium. Originally built in the 10th century, this cathedral is the home to a rather curious piece of Catholic art, the Lucifer of Liège. Which brings us back to our theme of the week, Uranus going into Taurus, harkening back to the mythology of Prometheus. Well, as we come into the weekend, we find ourselves in this crucible of energy, giving full gas to our drive for domination and advancement, but it's rubbing our ego the wrong way. It's a rough start for Leo and Virgo, but also Sagittarius, as we also have this finger of God pointing directly at Venus, reminding us that if we're going to play in the mud, we need to wash it off before we track it into the house and sit down at the table. Our newfound self-discipline requires that any call from the higher self be practicable and sustainable right now in concrete terms. The urgent need for us to make up shortcomings and to cure old wounds has driven us to extremes, but thanks to the moon phase this weekend, we'll be blowing that off. On Saturday, May 12th, we're reminded that the path to enlightenment and wisdom is challenged by details in the fine print. And although we find it pleasing to study in seclusion, there's a need to ground our ideals and our wishes into a daily routine. And whereas there's been a need to reconsider if our advancement appeases our ego and conventional wisdom alike, anyone else questioning us right now might get a testy retort through the 28th, despite the personal lightening up of the sense of humor and the spirit while easing off of the bruised ego. Beginning this week instead, it's a shift from those in power lashing out at those who have innovative and constructive ideas to those who are actually living out novel lifestyles and living out their ideals. It's a shift as the ideas of control versus change become more and more incompatible. What we're suddenly unable to heal or remedy with humor or attraction, we'll be attacking it with raw determination and obstinacy, which can leave the unfortunate side effects of blowing off responsibility and harmony as well. Now on Sunday, May 13th, that already irascible mood adopts some more flippant and facetious tendencies as our emotions and our mind are unified with an inclination to throw off any shackles of control coming from others. We'll have a little bit of a more rebellious attitude against those who are going to try to smother us with a bit more outspoken speech and acting up. And the unexpected consequences of this, it may highlight the difference between what exactly inspires us, what exactly heals us, and what makes us feel comforted. Now on Monday, 5/14, a rough day for Sagittarius coming up, as we're going to have a little heart-to-heart with ourselves about how exactly to evolve into a better person. It has to be an everyday process and not just growth spurts. There is supportive emotional energy for the cause of advancement and empowerment, but the question is, will we exactly have the Sitzfleisch for it? We'd actually be more inclined to calling in sick, what with this ambiguous and uneasy tension in the background, and conceal our more obnoxious sides from the rest of humanity. But it's not completely a bad idea, because there are creative indicators here that suggest we can redefine how exactly we can achieve our personal goals and attune ourselves every day to our highest self. Tuesday, May 15th, however, threatens to blow your mind with some serious anarchy, as that energy boost to our sense of evolution and empowerment and that emotional conflict with conventional wisdom ebb away. But not just that, the placements indicating our health, our good feeling, our mood and emotions, these are also overshadowed by some serious placements and transits today. The eccentric and seemingly random forces of Uranus warp into the sign of Taurus for the first time in 84 years today. We're not sure if that's going to shake the earth like it did last time or just fling a cow patty into the global economy. But as if that's not ominous enough for you, there's going to be a role reversal between Mars and Uranus right in the middle of their boisterous power struggle, as the urge to subjugate slowly turns into a desire to liberate, while the subconscious will to achieve autonomy and independence now looks instead to achieve order. Not only are we going to be a bystander in this little power struggle for the next 2 weeks, we're looking at a new phase for the next 7 years, as our old friend Prometheus suddenly gets punished for giving humanity a new kind of fire instead. But with the new moon taking place on Tuesday, some astrologers are reminding us these are not the only bulls we're going to have to jump over. The cherry on the cake of the day is, of course, the new moon setting a new tone for the new month, but in conjunction with the dreaded star Algol. Named for the decapitated head of the Gorgon Medusa, you might find yourself struggling to keep your head on your shoulders and held high. Algol is traditionally associated with heinous acts and disastrous catastrophes, so us astrologers are a little bit nervous on what might happen on Tuesday. All hell might just break loose, so fasten your seatbelts. It's going to get a little bit bumpy. Now on Wednesday, May 16th, we find ourselves playing a little game of catch-up for the next 7 days, what with all these changes happening everywhere. We're still reeling from the events of the 15th on the social and the global scales, but our eyes are still on the prize for those of us not raptured up all of a sudden. Inspiration, evolution, action, and healing are all going to have to take a back seat as we get cozy with absurdity as a fact of life. This is a reality that the moon in Gemini will help us cope with by bringing about a lighter mood. Now on Thursday, May 17th, this loony appreciation for the absurd and ridiculous aspects of life can deepen into a love affair as we get back in touch with our heart. The unpleasant and overly aggressive people and things in life may be disdainful to you for the next 10 days, and you'll try to rebuff them. But remember that there's always a counterbalancing force to be reckoned with. Any egos that you rebuff or bruise along the way might be coming back around to bite you in the ass for the next 21 weeks. Now on Friday, the 18th of May, the moon comes back into its home sign of Cancer, rounding out the week with zero tolerance for this redonkulous struggle between the forces of chaos versus control. It's going to be manifesting on so many different planes, from the social to the global to the personal, over the next 10 days. But also with the newly reformed Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio ready to regenerate our integrity and principles, and Neptune home in Pisces making our psychic sensitivity and crystal visions more lucid, we'll be able to find an escape route from that battlefield using emotion, convictions, and compassions. But after this week, we'll just be lucky if we can make it to happy hour. Celebrating birthdays this week, on May 12th, we have the best time-traveling companion ever, Miss Catherine Tate, hilarious and still not bothered. On May 13th, a double whammy with legendary actor and on-screen Brooklyn bad boy Harvey Keitel, but also America's favorite ass Stephen Colbert. On May 14th, motherfucking Galadriel herself, Kate Blanchett, has a birthday. And then on May 16th, we move from the Elven Nation to the Rhythm Nation. It's Janet, Miss Jackson if you're nasty. On May 17th, we go a little bit further down the spiral. Mr. Trent Reznor still nailing those 9 inches after all these years. Bless. And then finally on Friday, it's Miss Tina Fey working on some night cheese. Deal breaker. Shut it down. And that is your weekly weather with Bearykah. Watch out for Uranus. Remember, you've been read, but don't panic.